Right. So Google Classroom 101 is what we're taking care of today. Okay. So just an overview of what we're going to try to get done. We're going to join and experience Google Classroom as a student. You need to know what that looks like. We're going to create and set up a Google Classroom. You're going to understand the ins and outs of that and how different settings and features will work for you. You're also going to create classroom materials, assignments, and differentiating materials. So I'm going to show you all the basics and then some little extras that are going to help you as you start setting this up. I'm just curious, are there any teachers in here that are teaching grades K through 2? K through 2. Okay, so I do want you to understand that Seesaw will be the required platform for K through 2. You'll also benefit from this training, but if you don't feel like this is what you need, then you can go ahead and hop off. I will have a Seesaw training tomorrow that you can definitely benefit more from, but Google Classroom is going to be required for grades 3 through 12. So hopefully you're in the right spot. Okay. So why would we want to use Google Classroom other than remote learning? I have loved Google Classroom for the past few years, especially when I was teaching. It really helped me organize all of my materials that I was giving kids, especially in a paperless fashion. It was great for grade tracking and knowing exactly when they turned something in, and that was great for me to communicate to parents as well. Because everything is time and date stamped as far as when I send out material and then when material is collected. You can automate a lot of reminders, a lot of assignments. So as you're working and setting up your materials, you can get a lot of stuff done. You don't have to run to the copier or anything like that. So it helps you kind of speed up your prep time a little too. There's less helicoptering, standing over a student and seeing what they're working on. You can see what they're working on in real time. There are some opportunities for self-grading, which is really awesome. So I'm going to show you some ways that you can integrate that as well. It is also great for asynchronous and remote learning. And even if you are just using it for your kids that are coming in the classroom, it is a wonderful tool that, again, grades 3 through 12 will be required to use. Okay. So it does create a central hub for all class activities. You can create all of your assignments through there. You can add lots of templates in there. You can schedule things, categorize things, and of course collect assignments, all without having to take a bunch of paperwork home. It is wonderful for that. As we are potentially transitioning back and forth between remote learning and in-class learning, it's going to make that transition very easy, because if you're putting everything in Google Classroom and your students are utilizing it daily, then they're going to know how to access stuff. Parents are going to know what assignments are coming in. So it just makes it very easy for your students to get their materials, especially if they're gone on trips or anything like that. You don't have to remember to give them work. It's already there for them. Okay. So in order to learn what this looks like, I am going to allow you to join my Google Classroom. If you are using a device that won't allow you to toggle between Zoom and your browser or vice versa, just feel free to listen in and watch on the screen. Okay, I will share that classroom code out later, so that way you can play around in there as much as you want. If you are on a browser, make sure you're using Google Chrome. I did send that out in a couple emails, so hopefully you are using your Chrome browser. Everything Google works better in Google Chrome. So if you need to, go ahead and open up another tab now. If you're using an iPad, then just make sure you have Google Classroom installed, and then we'll start to join that in just a moment. You do want to make sure you sign in with your Abilene ISD Google account. So I'll show you what that looks like. If I open up my browser and go to google.com, over here on the right-hand side, you may see a blue sign-in button. If you'll click on that and then sign in with your Abilene ISD email Google account. If you're signed in with your personal one, then you can click here and either switch to your Abilene account or sign in with your Abilene account. And if you're on the iPad, again, make sure you are using your Abilene ISD, okay? When you're asking your kids to use Google Classroom, tell them to use Chrome or to use the Classroom app. Okay, I have included additional videos that will help those of you using iPads as far as how to use that with your students and how to use it as a teacher too. This will be available in our Google Classroom, and any other resources that I have will be available there too. All right, so now I'd like for you to go to Google Classroom, and on the top right-hand corner, you're going to click that plus button and hit join class, and the join code, which I'll put in the chat, is EB22DNT. And if you have a question or get stuck, now's a great time to unmute yourself. Good stopping point, and we will get you signed in as much as we can. Christian Packwood, did you get married? Is that why you can't change your name? They won't let you do it yet? Okay, and Donna asked, do we always have different codes for kiddos to use to sign into us? So in Google Classroom, it's going to auto-generate a class code for each class that you create, and it will stay the same all year long unless you decide you want to change it or disable it. So that will prevent others from joining that you don't want in there. And I like to disable the codes after my class is established, especially for secondary kids, because you know they're turds sometimes, and they will try to join other classes and things like that. So I'll show you those settings and how to do that. Okay. Okay. Here you go. Okay. So I'm going to check my Google Classroom, kind of see what the numbers are. Oh, let me switch to the correct one. Here we go. All right, there's a bunch of you there, so I feel like most of you are here. So what you're seeing is the teacher view right now on my screen, and you're going to see the stream, you're going to see the classwork tab, the people tab, and grades. If you're in the student section, all you're going to see are the first three options, which are stream, classwork, and people. Okay, and so stream is basically kind of like, you know, if you're using Facebook or something like that, everything that you post or that someone else posts will populate in that area. I personally disable it because there tends to be so much information that's on there that kids get lost in it. And I'll show you how to turn that on and off. I like to work just in the classwork tab because it keeps things organized and they don't get overwhelmed, but you can use it however you would like. The stream, it can be a very useful tool, but things can get lost in it pretty easily. The people tab, just shows who all has joined my class, and it also gives me the opportunity to invite guardians. And then I also have a couple other options where I can email a student. If I click on this check mark over here, then I can email everybody at the same time. I can remove them or I can mute them. Okay. Okay. So again, you have your stream tab, classwork, people, and then grades for your students. They'll be able to see their grades. As a teacher, you get to see everybody's grades. And these are going to be found, again, across the top of Google Classroom. Okay. So again, this is what your stream will look like once things start to get posted on there.
Did you say that only the first 3 would be viewed by the student though, so they wouldn't be able to see the grades tab?
Right. They'll be able to see their grades once those are posted, and it may be a setting that I have turned off. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. But again, I have the stream disabled on my part because that's just a preference thing. Okay. Let's see. So in the stream, you can create announcements. You can ask questions in there. So as a teacher, I can decide which class, and I have a bunch of Google Classrooms, but I can decide which class I want to post into the stream. This is a little differentiation part right here. I can decide if I want this announcement to go to everybody in the class or just to a few. Okay. So if you have groups or you have certain populations, you can do that too. Google Classroom, oops, let me go back over here. Google Classroom has a lot of add features. So if I go here and I click on this add button, I can add a file from my Google Drive. I can insert a link. I can attach a file. And I can also include a YouTube video. And that's all if I'm trying to make an announcement, which is basically what this is. Okay. And then I can also schedule posts. So let me select students. So I could hit post now and it would automatically post to the stream. Or I can schedule this by clicking this down caret arrow, and I can schedule it to show up tomorrow, and I can pick a time. So you can do that for all of your weekly announcements. If you want to use the stream, if you want to add reminders in there, you can do all of that at once. You don't have to wait to do it the day that something might need to be reminded about. Okay. Over here on this left-hand side, this will show me any announcements, or I'm sorry, any assignments that I have scheduled a due date for. So it's going to give me a view of what things are going to be due. Okay. Right. In the classwork tab, this is where you will create assignments, or where your students will see all of their assignments. You can reuse previous posts so you don't have to retype everything again and again. And if you have multiple classes that are under the same type of class, like if you teach 3 history classes, you can reuse your posts from another class. You can schedule them, you can arrange them and put them in order the way that you want your students to see them. You can also differentiate and only assign to specific students. And they'll also have a shortcut to your Google Calendar or Google Class Drive folder. So if I go to classwork, right now you're going to see your assignments that I've put into this topic. You're going to see resources, and these are just things that I've shared with you guys that you can access later. If I want to create an assignment, I'm going to click on this blue plus button. From here, I can create an assignment. I can add a Kami assignment, which is an extension I'll talk about later. I can add a quiz assignment that would do some self-grading for me. I can ask a question. I can add material. I can reuse a post or create a topic. So if I go over here to assignment, it's going to pull up this window. You want to go ahead and give your assignment a title. I like to number them. So for instance, this might be assignment number 1. We'll call it bell ringer. You can include instructions for them, which just remind them when they start asking, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. Go read the instructions, you know. You can also add all of those attachments again. You can create a doc, a slide, sheets, drawings, or a Google form right inside that assignment. Over on this side, this is where you can decide which classes that assignment will post to. You can select more than one if you teach or if you have more than one class that would need that assignment. You can also decide which students receive that assignment. Okay. You can put a point value. It's going to default to 100, or you can select ungraded. You can schedule a due date and a time. So again, Google is going to timestamp everything for you, and this is a great thing to use for students who have trouble with time management and with parents who also need to know when their student actually turned in some work. So this is a great thing for time management. Over here you have topics, and again, this is what I like to do. You might set up your topics by unit or by types of topics, so like assignments or resources and materials. If I were teaching this, I might do by unit, so that way everything that is in that particular unit is all grouped together. Or maybe for that 6 weeks or for the first 3-week grading period, if you teach a bunch of different contents, you might have topics for history, one for science. You could also create different classrooms for each one of those separate content areas too, and that will help your students stay a little more organized, okay? You can also create a rubric. So as you're grading, your students will be able to see what criteria you're going to use to grade, and then as you're grading, those will already be in there, and it will calculate the grade for you based on where you mark for their point values. Okay. There's also this check plagiarism or originality check, which will be great for those secondary students who need to learn how to use sources correctly. Okay. So once I'm ready to assign this, I can just click that blue assign button. If I want to save this as a draft and come back to it later because, you know, maybe I got busy doing something, I can save it as a draft and go back and edit it before it's popped out. On the teacher side of things, anything that is a draft will show that for you. When you have these 3 dots, that means you have more options. So I'm going to click there and click edit. Okay. If I want to schedule this, I can schedule it, or I can just hit assign. Okay. So now if you refresh your side of Google Classroom, you're going to see that that assignment has popped up there. Okay. When a student clicks on it, they're going to be able to see the instructions if there were any. They really need to pay attention to this view assignment button. Okay. So now on this side of things, when I get ready to grade an assignment, I can see who all has turned in an assignment. I can Let me see. I can give them a grade. I want to flip over to another Google Classroom here in a sec so I can show you. Yeah, Susan's turned some stuff in. So one thing to remember is that when your students turn something in to Google Classroom, if it has a due date on it, they can unsubmit that up until the due date has passed, okay? So you might have them turn something in, but they need to make some edits to it. As a teacher, you can just click on their assignment, click by their name and hit return, and it will go back to them. So now Susan's going to be notified that that work has been returned back to them. You might even add a private comment. So like on Jimmy's right here, I might say, hey, check on number 1 again. And then I would post that to him. So you can give your students some feedback right there and return it to them. Anytime, which I'll show you here in a moment, you assign something that has a template or Google Doc to it, when a student turns it in, anytime they turn in a document, it is going to remove ownership and editing rights from them. So you may get requests from your students to access or to edit. If it is before the due date, all you have to do is just go back in here to the classwork grading, and I'll show you how I got into that again, and just check and hit return. And then that will give them ownership and editing rights again. Okay, that's going to be very important because they may rush through something, turn it in, and then they're like, well, I can't edit anything. I can't do anything with this now. So just keep that in mind that once they turn something in, they lose ownership, they lose access to edit, okay? All right, talked about that. In, let me see. So I'll show you how to get back to classwork. So if I go here, I'm looking at my assignments, I can see how many have turned it in, how many I still have assigned out there that they haven't done anything with it yet. If I am on the teacher's side and I click on view assignment, then it's going to bring me into what's basically the grade book, okay? So I can see everybody's work at one time. I can just click on these that have turned in. If I want to grade those really quickly, I can. Or I can return them all. Just kind of depends on what you want to do with it. I can also send an email to just those students. You can say I want to return these, and I can add a private comment. Thanks for completing the assignment. Oh, helps if I spell it right. And that will go back to the student individually. Okay. Okay. When you start collecting grades, you're going to, or if you set this up as a grade book, the teacher will be able to grade right from the grade book and enter grades that way. And you'll be able to see who has turned something in, who hasn't turned something in, all on one page. And then what I really love is that when I'm working in classwork, I click in here. I'm going to switch to another classroom so you can see. Let me try this one. Let's go to this. Okay, so as let me find a different assignment. Here we go. All right, so this is where I have maybe given them a template, a Google Doc. So I can click on a student's work, and it's going to open up this new tab for me where I can see and edit their document. Okay, so I could add in suggestions, and give them feedback right then, and they'll see that on their side. I can, if this was a graded assignment, I would have an area up here to enter a grade. I can add private comments on there and post them and then return it. And then by hitting this arrow button, I can go to the next student. So everybody who's turned something in, I can start grading all of their work right there. Even if they haven't done anything, if I've given them a template, I can see what they've done. If they've done nothing, I can see that too. Okay, so this is going to be great for, you know, just kind of watching them work before the assignment is due if you've given them a template. Okay. All right. So when you're interacting with your students, you can create an announcement from the Stream tab. You can create an assignment from the Classwork tab. You can reuse a post. You can create a question, or you can add class material. So I'm going to go back to our classroom, and I'm going to click on my Classwork tab. And let's say I want to just give my students some materials to work with. There's not an assignment attached to this. I just want them to have access to a resource. I'm going to click on material. And again, it's going to ask me to provide a title. If I need a description, I can add that. I can link the resource there, or I can create it right from Google. I can assign it to all students again, or I can assign it to a topic that I've created. Okay, and this just allows my students to access something that they may need to refer back to. So like in our Google Classroom, you can see resources and materials that I've provided for you. So like this presentation will be there for you, and some other stuff as well. Okay. If I want to create a quiz assignment, and click there. It's going to ask you to put in a title, and it's going to give you a blank quiz. So this comes from Google Forms. So you would go ahead and click on the Google form, give it a title. Okay. And then you can start putting your questions in there. For automatic grading, you'll want to use like a multiple choice, any of these checkbox drop down, something that would automatically grade. If you use short answer, it's going to have to be very text specific, and it does make students a little frustrated because they may capitalize something or not capitalize something, and just depending on how you set up the text requiremts, it could count it wrong even though the answer was right. So for my preference, I like to stick with these multiple choice check boxes, drop downs, something like that that can have like a yes or no answer, if that makes sense. Okay. You can, when you do that, you'll put in your answer key, decide which option is correct and how many points it's worth. Hit done. I always like to make things required so that they can't skip my questions. Okay. And if you've taken any Google Forms stuff, then you know that there's a lot more that you can do with Google Forms. I'm just showing you the basics. Once you have your quiz set up, then it will automatically reset that for you in Google Classroom. And your students will have that assignment, and it will automatically grade it for you. Okay. All right. Next thing you can do is reuse a post. So again, if you have multiple classes that you need to use the same assignment for, this reuse post button is going to be awesome. So if I click on this, it's going to take a second because I have a lot of classes. Martha, I'll check to see if you're on my roll here in just a second, okay? Okay.
Okay.
All right, and again, I have a lot of classes and a lot of materials, so it may take a while. But I do have this included in some of my quick tutorials as well. Maybe. Okay, so I'll stop wasting your time with this. I have included some tutorials for this as well, okay? But that will eliminate a lot of you having to retype or recreate, reinvent. The one additional thing that you need to know is that when you create an assignment and you want to give your students a template, let's say I picked this template from my Google Drive. Okay, and okay. If I select this, when I want to give my students a template that they can edit, you're going to click on this drop-down menu and say make a copy for each student. If I just want them to view it, I would leave it at that. If I want them to be able to edit that file, meaning everybody can edit that one file I've shared, then you would select that. That's going to be good for collaboration assignments that you give. But if I just want to use this to give everybody a copy, like everyone gets a copy that I pass out in the classroom, you have to do that when you are first making the assignment. You won't be able to edit and have that option, okay? So when you're first making this assignment and you add that template, and I give it a title, then that is going to basically place a copy of that in each student's Google Classroom folder, which is great because when you are going through and you're checking work, maybe you're not grading it, but you're just checking to see what progress they're doing, whether they've turned it in or not, you can check their work and you can see what they're working on before they even turn it in. And that is a fabulous tool because the one thing that can really frustrate a student is that they've spent all this time working on something. We never looked at it, gave them feedback before they turn it in. Now we have to spend more time fixing or doing corrections when I could have been watching them or giving them feedback before they even turn it in. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah? Okay. So again, anytime you're using a template or giving them something that you want them to edit, make sure you hit make a copy for each student. If you want this to be collaborative, select students can edit file. If you just want them to be able to view it, then that's all they can do with it. Okay. Any questions about making assignments so far? Or am I going too fast or too crazy for you?
A little fast.
A little fast? Okay. And again, I am recording, and then I'm going to show you a really awesome resource that's going to show you step by step how to do some of these things too. Okay. Okay. Topics. Again, this is just a way for you to organize some of these materials and assignments. So if I wanted one just for questions, I could create that topic there. Now, anytime, again, you have 3 dots, that means you have more options, okay? I can rename this, I can delete it, I can copy the link, I can move it up or down. Great thing about Google is that I can just click and drag and move things wherever I want. Same thing with these materials or assignments. I can click and drag and move it wherever I want. Okay. So under my question section, I could go here and go to question and say, are you here today? Okay. And then it allows me to pick what type of answer I want, short answer or multiple choice. Yes, no. So while you're teaching your kids remotely, you can have that question on there. You might even put in the date. So as they log in, they can just do that, and there's your attendance. Okay. Post today's due date. Okay. And then right here, I'm going to put it under whichever topic I want. For now, I'm going to put it under questions. And hit ask. Okay. So when you refresh your classroom, you'll see this new question in there. You don't have to answer it, but you can. Okay. All right, so I've pretty much covered everything you can do on the create section under classwork. Any questions? Because this is kind of a big component of Google Classroom, is making those assignments in the classwork. Okay. All right. Making announcements, again, you will use that in the stream if you have that available. So if I go back over here, I can type in my announcement, can schedule it, I can assign it to all students or just a group of students. You can save it as a draft, you can schedule it, and that will populate in the stream. So as soon as they open Google Classroom, that's going to show up right there for them. Okay. Talked about creating an assignments and returning work. Okay. Just remember to click on that create button, and that's where all the magic for Google Classwork happens. Okay. Just a couple of tips. Make sure that you are giving your participants, your students, as much information as you can. Okay. What we learned with online learning was that we were maybe a little too vague in what exactly students were supposed to do or what steps they needed to take. So be very descriptive. Tell them exactly where to go. Put those links in there for them. Tell them how it's going to be graded. Include due dates if something is going to be due by a certain time. Use topics to help organize and get your students familiar with where to find things. Include attachments. Remember, any templates that you give, in order to make them a copy of it, you have to do it from the first time you are making that assignment. Otherwise, you won't have that option. Okay. When, and again, I've talked about sharing assignments. You have 3 options. Students can view the file, students can edit the file, or you can make a copy for each student. It just depends on what you want them to do with that assignment. Excuse me. You can create a question. You have short answer or multiple choice. And again, that's in the classwork section under create, and hit the question section. Okay. Class material, again, that is just resources that you want them to be able to access. It doesn't have a grade or anything else like that attached to it. It's just for class materials. It could be a 120 chart. That's just an example. Could be the periodic table, whatever resources you think they might need access to. Okay. All right, so with differentiation, again, you can assign assignments to a select group of students. or you can assign it to all students. So it's great for grouping. It's great for those special populations that need accommodations and things like that. So again, I'll show you that one more time. If I go up to my classwork and create button, and I want to make an assignment, over here, I can decide if I just want it to go to a few students. Doesn't have to go to everybody. Okay. Okay. Reusing a post. Again, mine was taking a very long time to do that, but you can reuse a post. You can also create new copies of all attachments once you do that. You can pull an assignment from a different classroom. It doesn't have to be the same classroom. It's going to let you choose from all of your classrooms to reuse. It will also allow you to edit the post if you need to do that too. Okay. There is a Google Classroom extension, which I have right up here on my browser. And so when let's say I'm working on a website that I want to share with my students, I can click on that and it will push it to students automatically, or I can add it as a material for them too.
This disturbing video shows the agents meeting a Navy veteran with the
Right. Let's see. All right, let's take 5 minutes for either a break, or if you want to stay on and ask some questions, I'll be here to answer questions, but we can come back in 5 minutes at, let's say, 1:55, okay? Okay. Yes, April. Yes, you could break it up by weeks. You could make those topics however you wanted to. So that would be great, especially for remote learning. Teaching on Zoom during class. Christian, the last update that I heard was that teachers will be required to use Google Meet instead of Zoom. And Google Classroom does have an embedded Google Meet code that's already there for your students. Okay, so, and things change every day. So as far as I know, that's what will be available. Donna, don't worry, we'll help you out, girl. Okay, you know I'm a phone call away, so. If I have any paras in the training, you are welcome to leave. I'm not going to make you do all these assignments or things like that, but you are welcome to leave. I've given you pretty much the gist of what Google Classroom is and how to use it, and you'll get your 3 hours. Yes, Jimmy, there will be a Meet training. There's going to be a lot of trainings, so just get ready for all of that. There's a lot coming. I just don't know when or how or who or what, but it's all gonna come, I promise. Yes. Kathy, as far as I know, Cami will be available, or it is available to everyone. I just don't know to what extent. It is available already now, the free version. I just don't know if your campus has purchased any of the premium versions, but that is available. I will go through that a little bit. So Donna, Cami is basically a PDF editor, annotator. which is great for yourself and for students because you can go in and add different things or change things, create assignments. Let's say you had a Google Doc or even a Word document. You could just make certain sections editable for your students. And then if you use that as a Google Classroom assignment, then you can see their responses that way. So trainings will be coming about that as well. I don't want to overload you with all of that too. Michelle, from what I have been updated with, there will be a needs assessment form basically for students to receive devices. So and I think Dr. Young sent this email out a few days ago that kind of explained how that process will work, is that a family will make a commitment as far as if they are going to do remote learning or not. They'll be locked into that. And then they will also be given an opportunity to fill out a form to request technology based on their needs. So if they fall under the free and reduced lunch category, then more than likely the school district will provide them with the resources they need to be able to access remote learning. But again, it is going to be on a need basis and not everybody gets one just because they're doing remote learning. So if families have a preference to do remote learning but have the means to provide technology for their child, then they'll do that just based on needs. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully everybody's back. We're gonna get back on this. I do want to go over a few more things before we jump into some of these assignments. I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to delete that so it doesn't bother y'all. Again, the stream is basically anything that's posted, assignments, materials, announcements, everything will post in the stream. Classwork, that's where students will access all of their assignments, or this is where you will create any materials, resources, or questions. People, this is where all of your students will be, okay? If you wanted to add a co-teacher or your principal, you would click on this little person with the plus button, type in their email, and then it will send them an invitation to join as a co-teacher, which means that they can post things, they can grade things, they can view student work, all of that stuff. Okay, so if you are an administrator here and you want your students to do, or your teachers to do that, then that's how they can add you as a co-teacher, and you can check what assignments are being posted, what materials are posted, see if they're in line with scope and sequence, all of that. Okay, grades. As you start posting assignments, your grade book will fill up and you can grade right in here, or you can grade on the assignment from the classwork tab. Okay. You can also click on your three dots. Anytime you have those, you have more options, and you can edit an assignment, return them all at one time. Okay. Right. So Now you guys are going to get to create your own Google Classroom, and I'm going to have a couple other things that you'll do on your own. Again, I don't want to keep you on here all day long, but I do want to make sure you have enough support and resources to do these things, and also feel free to access or to contact me anytime, okay? Just to make sure that you remember who your audience is. So what grade level are you teaching? Make sure you're using good descriptive language for them. Decide how many classrooms you may need. Do you need one for each of your content areas? Do you want just one? Okay. Topic titles, do you want it by unit, by week, by content, by the type, like assignments or resources, materials? You can do it however you want it. One thing that I suggest is making what I call like my Google Masterclass. So I'll post everything there, and then I can reuse that class year after year. And it already has all of my materials and resources organized. And then every year I'll just make a class for the school year and reuse or repost assignments that way. Use clear directions, okay? Make it easy to use. So when you're setting up your classroom, just like you joined my class, you can create a class. So if I go back to my Google Classroom and I click on, say, these 3 hot dogs and click on my home button to classes, it's going to bring me back to my home screen. If I click on the plus button, this is where I can create a class. So I'll hit create. It's going to ask you for the class name, section, subject, or room. Those are all optional. You don't have to put those in. And then you hit create. Okay. It takes a minute to get that going. Right. In order to get students into your classroom, you can do it a couple different ways. Let's say it is the first day of class and you want all your kids to join. You can basically have them get on their devices and go to Google Classroom, hit the plus button to join a class, and then share your class code. By clicking on this box, it makes it big, so you can present it that way. You can also just email the class code out if you want to send it out through Remind or something like that. You could do that. Or you can go to the People tab, hit the plus button, and then put in their student emails. So they can join either by accessing Google Classroom and entering your class code, or you can automatically add them to your class by typing in their email. Okay. All right. I've given you a link in our Google Classroom resources for a quick start guide, tips and tricks. I'll open that up really quickly. Give it a second. So this will walk you through step by step how to set up your class, how to get students joined in, how to customize your classroom, what each of the different sections are and how to utilize those as well. Okay, so that's going to be there for you. Again, set up a master class if you can. That way all your materials are organized for the year and you don't have to reinvent the wheel every year. Everything is there. You're just going to create a separate class for that year and reuse post. Okay.
Quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
What would be the major difference between the assignments and the quizzes? What's the benefit of using one or the other?
Well, a quiz would be if you were doing, you know, something like a multiple choice sort of assessment.
Okay.
And then an assignment, let's say you wanted them to write a paper okay? And you could put their assignment in there and they could turn it in from that assignment. Does that make
Okay,
sense?
so it's more like a form thing whenever you're going to quiz, but
Yes.
whereas assignment, something created from somewhere else that they have to create themselves. Okay,
Yes,
thank
absolutely.
you.
Okay. So again, once you're back at your Google Classroom homepage, hit that plus button on your top right, hit create class. I'm going to walk you through how to change your settings and make this kind of a little bit more customized to you. So on the stream, there is this option to select a theme. So you can click that, and it has a couple different categories, okay, that are already done for you, and they're kind of cute, you know. And you can change the theme, or you can upload a photo. So if you have something really kind of cute or whatever that really kind of, you know, would be like decorating your classroom, you can upload a photo right there and it would show up on the stream.
Ashley, sorry to interrupt. Where's that theme button on the iPad?
I'll get
Because
back
I've never found it. Even this year, we used, you know, the Google Classroom, and I could never change the theme.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. I'm not sure because
Okay.
we don't ever use them, so
Yeah.
but I will check for you.
Thank you.
Okay. So next, let's talk about this gear over here. This is where you can change your settings. So if I click here, I can go in and rename the class if I need to, or add more details to the class details. I have my class code. If I click on the drop down, I can choose to display it, copy it, reset it, or disable it. So maybe after, you know, the first couple weeks or so, things have settled down, you can reset that code, or you can disable it so that that code will no longer work. And that would be great for a secondary. You can decide how students post to the stream. So on this, you can allow students to post and comment. You can allow students to only comment, or only teachers can post and comment. My preference, only teachers can post and comment. But depending on your class structure, your discipline, all of that, and the maturity of your students, you know, you can adjust that or change them at any time. Okay. Classwork on the stream. So right here, this is where you can enable everything that you post or everything that's posted to show up in the stream, or just condense notifications or hide all notifications. And that's my preference, to hide all, because we primarily are going to work out of the classwork tab. But depending on how you use it, it's great for discussions. It's great for just general reminders to show up right there. Okay. You can enable deleted items to show up or not. Guardian summaries. You can also, right here, this is going to be important, generate a Meet link. So if I turn this on, or if I generate a Meet link and I hit save, then when they go to the stream, they can click on that Meet link right there, just for our classroom. Okay, Meet will be required for those that are going to be teaching students remotely. So I would go ahead and get that set up, and that's in your settings under general in the Meet section. Okay. Grading. You can set this up to be total points or weighted by category. So just like you set up your gradebook in Teams, you can do that. I'm looking for, or trying to work on, a tutorial where you can import your grades from Google Classroom and put them into Frontline, but I haven't got there yet. It's hard because we don't have access to be able to see gradebooks or play with a gradebook, but I'm working on that. Okay. because it would be really nice if you could have all your grades in Google Classroom and then just import them and put them in Frontline. Okay. You can choose whether you show the grade, the overall grade to students or not. So I'm not sure who it was. I think it was Amy. You weren't able to see the grades, but once I turn this setting on, you'll be able to see your overall grade. Okay. You can add your grade categories here and what percentage those categories will be. So when you're creating assignments, you'll also have the option to put it under a grade category. So it's automatically weighted for your grade book. Okay. Now again, we don't have it set up just yet for you to be able to import those, but I'm going to work on it, or we're going to figure that out because it's a game changer. I promise. Okay. All right. Let me see. Discard. When you're in Google Classroom and you look at this stream over here, which I have a ton of Google Classrooms, you also have this section called To Review. So as a teacher, you're going to see any assignments that still need to be checked on. Let's say the due date has passed, and so now you have your work, okay, that you need to do. So that's going to be on this section where your classes are. If I click those 3 lines, I can access or switch between any of my classes over here, okay? If I scroll all the way to the bottom, I can click on this settings button, and this is going to give me my settings for all of my Google Classrooms and how I want to be notified. So I click there. I can decide how many emails I want to receive. You will find out very quickly that everything that your students start to post, you could get an email for. So use these slider buttons to turn them on or off because your email will blow up, okay? So I'll show you how to get there one more time. Click over here to your on your 3 lines, scroll all the way to the bottom, click on settings, and then this will allow you to decide what types of notifications you receive for all of your Google Classrooms, okay? All right, any questions about settings? Okay, so Linda, I'm gonna answer this question. What is the best way to get 500 students to join? If you have all 500 students on like your Frontline roster, just hit that email all students button and you could send them the join code that way and have them do all the work, okay? And again, it just kind of depends on your grade level. So we would have to work with that a little bit. If they're the younger group, again, we're gonna have to train them on how to use Google Classroom, how to use their email, all of that stuff. If a student moves from one of your classes to another, will Google Classroom automatically change them to the new class? That is something I'm not sure because from what I hear, they may be doing some auto rostering for you guys. So I'm not sure on that, but I'll find out. Can we get resources like that in a hard copy? Resources like what, Donna? I'm not sure what that means. Does the Meet link stay the same for all meetings? It's going to stay the same for that Google Classroom, okay? If you do not want to use the Google Classroom Meet function, disable it and use just Google Meet and share that Meet code out with your students. That's going to give you probably a little better privacy and controllability, and disable the opportunities for other students to share your Meet code. So if you want it to change all the time, then don't use the Google Classroom Meet. Use the ones that you can generate on your own. Okay. Yes, Donna, I'm going to give you step-by-steps for all of these tasks. Okay. As far as, Susan, as far as a student changing from one class to another, you, if let's say you're the teacher for that class that you're changing the student from, so let's say you had them first period, but now they're in third period, you would just give them the join code for the other class, or you could go to the people section and add them by email and then just remove them. Okay. All right. Donna, I'll work with you, okay? I'll get you as many hard copies as I can, but there's a lot of information, I know, okay? All right. Let's say it's the end of the school year, or you want to hide a class, you can archive a class. So if I go into my classes and let's say this English one, I no longer need it. I'm done with it for the year, but I don't want to delete it. I can click on my 3 dots and hit archive. And that will just put it away. It's not going to show up on my main area right here. I can also make a copy of a class. So like when I was talking about the master class, I have everything set up for the whole year. Now I want to make a copy of that class for this school year. So then I'm only editing that one, not my master, where everything is nice and organized and there's no grades there, okay? You can also edit it or move it around. Google allows you to drag these things wherever you want, okay? So you can move it to the top, to the end, or move it around.
Once you archive it though, how do you get it back if you need to?
Okay, so if I click on my 3 dots, my 3 lines over here, 3 lines, and I scroll all the way down, go to archive classes. So any classes that I've archived will be there, and then I can unarchive them. So I would just click my 3 dots and hit restore, and it would make it a live class again. Does that answer your question? Yes, okay, awesome. I love your questions, Amy. Keep me on my toes. Make sure I know what I'm talking about. All right, how do you delete a class that you no longer want to appear? Again, click on your 3 dots, and let me go to my archives. And then I can hit delete. So you have to archive it first and then click delete. Okay. Right. Okay. I think we got through majority of that. I know it's a lot to take in, and I'm going to show you a resource that's going to break every single step down for you even more, okay? So in our Google Classroom, let me go back over there, and I'm sorry for all the clicking around. I apologize. It's just how I have to do it. You go into classwork. I've given you this resource called Google Classroom How-Tos. It is going to ask you to sign in to your Google account if you haven't already. Make sure you're using your Abilene Google account. That's how you have access to it. And I've given you some very quick, simple, easy tasks, or it's like a 1-step task. So create and join a class. I click here, and I'm going to show you a GIF that shows you exactly how to do that. If I click back on the classroom icon, I can get back here. If I want to reuse a post, how do I do that? Let me see, refresh this. And now it's going to take forever. Let me go back. But all of those are going to be there that are going to show you quick ways of how to do simple tasks, okay? So that should be pretty helpful. So you can see it, watch it over and over and over again if you need to. They're very short, very quick. I've also given you the classroom cheat sheet in a PDF. So Donna, if you'd like to print it off, you can. This is from Casey Bell. She's awesome. If I scroll down here, you can click on these. That'll take you right to the section that you might need, because I know you're not going to remember everything I've talked about, okay? If I click here, it's going to tell me exactly what to do, how to do, what to click. how to create your class, everything. Okay. So that's going to be there for you. There's also one for students that you can share with your students that show them how to do some of the steps that they're going to need as well. Okay. All right. Now let's get into the assignment. Hopefully it won't take you too long to do. When you go into assignments, click on that Classroom HyperDoc assignment. You may have to click View Assignment in order for the attachment to show up. So click View Assignment. I'm going to open it. This is really simple, really easy, or at least I hope it is. If it's not, please reach out to me and let me know. You have a couple different tasks. Under the Explore tab, you're going to briefly read through this article and then go to our Padlet and share some of the ways that you can integrate Google Classroom. Then comment on at least one other response. So here's our Padlet. And I have the Explore. This is where you'll post your the ways you can integrate Google Classroom just by, once you sign in, click on that plus button, and then you can start typing your response. Okay. Next, you'll go to the Explain section. Choose any of the following to learn more about Google Classroom. You don't have to do all, but you can. All right. And just review them to increase your understanding. Next is applying. I want you to create your own Google Classroom. Okay. There are some links that will help you, and you can also refer back to the resources that I've put in our Google Classroom too. Okay. Then share. I want you to invite 2 people to join your class. Give them an assignment that you can grade. I'm not going to really look at that, okay? But it's just there for you to practice inviting and sharing and creating assignments, okay? Again, you can share in the Padlet, share what you like about using Google Classroom for assignments and feedback, what concerns you might have, okay? Feel free to respond to somebody else as well, okay? All right. And then reflect. You're going to go to our Flipgrid and just reflect on what you've learned in Google Classroom. I will watch every single one of these, I promise you, but I'm not going to watch 10 minutes of every single one's post. So hopefully you can just do a quick reflection, 2 minutes. Tell me what you liked about the training or liked about Google Classroom, whatever feedback you can. That would be great. Put it on the Flipgrid. Then go back to our Google Classroom and hit mark as done on the assignment or turn in, whichever option it gives you. And then you're done with this class, okay? You guys have any questions for me? And if you don't want to ask them now, then I will be around to hang out on my email, phone calls, all of that stuff too. Jeff, thank you. Okay. April, I'll figure out what's going on with Padlet on the iPad. Topics of my Google Classroom slide won't open. Okay. I'll have to check on that as well. Okay. Christian, come on. We'll be friends all the time. Okay. I'll be here till 5. I'll answer emails when I come back to work at 8 o'clock. There has to be a balance, but I will help y'all out as much as I can, okay? I know that these times are crazy and there's a lot going on, and I'm hoping I can do all I can to support you guys. Feel free to reach out to me or any of the ITs, and we'll help you as much as we possibly can. Patricia, I would like to give you until tomorrow to get all of this done. If for some reason, let me check my due dates. Due July 24th. So you have a couple days to get this done, okay? And please feel free to reach out to me in case you need anything, okay? Yes, you do have free access to Padlet. There are some premium features that you can pay for. Okay, and for those of you using the iPad on the Padlet, I'm not sure. I'll have to check on that, and I'll send out some clarification through my email in a few moments. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I'm going to stick on for maybe 2 or 3 more minutes in case there's some lingering questions. Feel free to email me, contact me, whatever you need.
Ashley,
Yes.
it's Debbie. I was in your morning session, and I'm on the Google Docs Ninja Challenge.
Mhm.
And I tried to, well, I was successful in adding the extensis fonts, but then I can't, like, it doesn't do anything after that. Am I doing something wrong?
So you added the extension font?
Yes.
Okay.
And then when it pops up over on the right, it says,
It says,
like, there's a start button, and I click on it, like when I go up to add-ons, and
let me see. What was your name again? If you'll call me right after this, and then we'll work through it. Okay.
okay, where do I call you at?
Extension 7695.
7695. Okay, thanks.
Ashley, it's Julia, and I am I go to the Google Classroom and on the apps,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing, all it does is just run. I can't look at anything, any of the how-tos.
On this presentation.
Yes.
Okay.
On,
There's a lot, so it does take a while for it to load. Okay.
this,
Yes. It does take a while for it to load because there's a lot of video in that. So give it a little bit to run.
like 5 minutes. It's been loading for about 5 minutes.
Yeah. And it may depend on, kind of how fast your browser, your
Right.
Wi-Fi is too. Give it a little while. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ashley,
Yes.
this is Susan. If it doesn't have on the Padlet, it doesn't have the little plus signs, what do we do? Like for us to add a comment?
Did it ask you to sign in or anything?
No. Okay, let me see. Okay, let me so I need to go up to log in. Let's
Mhm.
see. Okay.
So once you sign in, then you should be able to start adding
Okay.
your comments. Did that work for you, Susan?
I'm looking, I accidentally pushed the wrong thing. So I'm
Okay.
going back and going to log in. Okay.
Let me see. Let me make sure my settings are set up right too.
Okay. The plus signs did not come up.
And you're on a PC?
Yes, I'm on my computer. It's not a laptop. It's
Hmm.
and I am logged in.
Okay. All that set up. Let me share this in the chat, and y'all tell me if that works any better. Oops, hold on. Copy to clipboard. Use this one. you can click on the link in the chat. Tell me if that changes anything, because then I'll change that on the HyperDoc.
Okay, go to. So go back to it and clicked on it again
Yes. Or click on the one that's in the chat.
on the chat.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
go back to the one on the chat. Let me make that bigger. I made it smaller.
Well, dang it, Jimmy. Let me see. Let me see.
Okay, that slowed it. No, yeah, it still didn't work.
Okay, let me look at something. Settings, icon. Okay. Well, guys, let me play around with this and see what's going on. Don't get too bogged down into it. If I can't make it work, then we'll just take it off of your to-do list, okay?
Okay.
But let me play around with it and see why it's not doing what I need it to do. Let me try this. Let me see. Right. Save. Okay, now try refreshing that Padlet. See if it
Okay.
helps you out.
Yes, that worked.
Yay!
Yeah, that
Got it.
worked.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, y'all. Sorry. Okay. All right. Well, again, if y'all have any questions or get stuck on something or have any other questions about Google Classroom from here or out the rest of the school year, please let me know and I will help you as much as I can, okay?
Ashley,
Yes.
this is Kelly Campbell.
Hey.
And I've done something strange and I can't really figure out how to get into the assignments and all the stuff you showed us. I don't know what's going on.
Okay. Are you signed in to Google Chrome?
Yes.
Okay. And did you already join the classroom or?
Well, I did the Are You Here Today? I did
Okay.
that and I said yes. And then I don't know where to go after that.
Okay.
Go back to
classwork. And under the assignments section, do you see that?
no. Do I go back to the 3 lines?
You can go back to the 3 lines
Okay.
and pick Google Classroom Overview. Pick that as your class.
Oh, there it is.
There
Okay.
you go. And
Thank
then
you.
click on classwork.
Okay. I think I did the wrong thing again. I've still got the Are You Here Today and Classroom HyperDoc.
Did you like about using class?
Click on that classwork tab. And then do you see under assignments, it says Classroom HyperDoc assignment?
Okay, now I think I got it. Okay. So then go to the HyperDoc,
Yes, ma'am.
and then underneath there is all those other things that you want us to do.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
You'll just open that up.
Okay,
And anything that you needed to do is right there. And then just go back to the Google Classroom assignment and mark as done or hit turn in. And then you're done.
okay. After I finish the HyperDoc, I do some turn in, or wait till the very end.
After you finish the HyperDoc.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm going to stop recording